You made a joke. Everyone laughed. Even your kid laughed, because that's what kids do when the room tells them to. But something shifted in their eyes, just for a second, and you filed it under, "They're fine," because the moment passed. Except, it didn't pass for them. This video is about the moments disguised as humor that quietly teach your child one devastating lesson: that they are the funniest thing in the room, and not in the way they'd want to be. Number 1. The punchline problem nobody talks about. Parents joke about their kids constantly. At dinner parties, in group chats, in carpool lanes with the windows down and the kid sitting 2 feet behind you. "Oh, you should see him try to parallel park. She cried for 40 minutes over a sandwich. He's just so dramatic, honestly." And the parent saying it means absolutely nothing by it. It's just venting, just bonding, just being human. But here's what the child is quietly cataloging in real time: the specific look on the adult faces when they laugh, the way the story got bigger in the retelling, the way their most embarrassing or vulnerable moment became someone else's entertainment. Developmental psychology research from Harvard confirms that children as young as 6 can accurately detect when laughter is directed at them versus with them, and they respond to that distinction at a neurological level. What feels like harmless venting to a parent registers in the child's brain as a social threat. They don't have the vocabulary for it yet, but they feel it, and they start adjusting their behavior accordingly. Not because they grew, but because they learned it's safer to perform than to be real. That performance becomes their default setting. You'll wonder why they're suddenly so guarded. You won't connect it to the carpool window being down. Number 2. The audience that was never supposed to know. There's a specific flavor of parental humor that involves broadcasting a child's private moments to an audience the child didn't consent to. Your kid confided something in you, maybe something small, maybe something they were genuinely embarrassed about, and you thought it was so adorable or so absurd that you just had to tell grandma, or post it, or bring it up at the birthday party because it would absolutely kill. And it did kill. The room loved it. Your kid smiled tightly and laughed along, because they've already learned that disagreeing with a room full of adults is a losing game. Psychology Today has covered this extensively. When children experience their private disclosures being made public for laughs, they don't just feel embarrassed in that moment. They recalibrate their entire approach to sharing with you. They start doing a risk assessment before they open their mouths. If I tell my parent this, will it become a story? That question, asked enough times, has one logical answer: say less. And so they do. The child who used to narrate every thought goes quiet, and you assume it's just the age, just a phase. You give it a name like teenage withdrawal and wait for it to pass. It doesn't. The silence was a decision. Number 3. The Correction Comedy Hour. Quick reality check before we keep going. Over 97% of people watching this haven't subscribed, which is sort of like showing up to a parenting support group and then leaving before the snacks. Don't do that. Hit subscribe and stay for the good stuff. Now, there's a specific kind of parent humor that lives inside correction, and it sounds like this. "He can't even tie his shoes without making it a whole production," said while your kid is standing there, shoe in hand, waiting. Or, "She forgot her lunch again. I honestly don't know how she survives," said to the teacher in front of her, with a laugh at the end as a buffer. The laugh is supposed to soften it. It doesn't soften it. Research from Northwestern on shame and child development shows that public correction delivered with humor doesn't reduce the sting of the correction. It adds a layer because now the child is not just wrong, they're also the joke. The humor signals to every adult in earshot that the parent finds the child's failure amusing, and the child receives both the criticism and the humiliation in the same breath. What the parent intended as lightness, the child experiences as a verdict. I am the kind of person my own parent laughs at. They carry that verdict quietly. You'll see it later in how reluctant they are to try new things around you, how they hedge everything, how they say probably and I don't know and whatever before you even get a chance to react. They're pre-protecting themselves from the punchline. Number 4. When love languages get lost in translation. Parents are also hilarious about compliments, in the worst possible way. "She's so dramatic, I know, but she's my dramatic one. He's not the sporty kid, but at least he makes us laugh." These are said with obvious warmth, absolute genuine love, and a kind of cheerful resignation that parents think reads as affection. And to adults, it does read that way. But a child hears the first part of that sentence and stores it. Not the sporty kid. Dramatic. Makes us laugh. They build their self-concept out of the scraps of language their parents drop. And the scraps with the most emotional charge, the ones attached to laughter and repetition, those are the ones that stick hardest. Stanford research on identity formation in children shows that parental labels, even casual ones, even affectionate ones, have outsized influence on how children describe themselves by adolescence. Your kid will use the exact words you used. They'll introduce themselves with your jokes. "Yeah, I'm the chaotic one in the family," they'll say with a laugh, having fully absorbed the character you wrote for them. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. When you talk about your kid, in front of them or behind them, talk about what they're becoming, not what makes the room laugh. She feels things deeply, instead of, "She's so dramatic." One sentence, different life. Number 5, the group chat they don't know about. There is a group chat. You know the one. Family members, close friends, maybe a parent group from school. And in that chat, your child exists as a recurring character, starring in screenshots, funny stories, and moments that the adults have collectively decided are too good not to share. Your kid doesn't know about this chat, but they know something. They walk into rooms and feel the residue of having been discussed. They notice the smile that precedes, "Oh, we were just talking about you." They clock the way relatives bring up things they never mentioned to those relatives. Children are extraordinarily attuned social detectives. Cambridge research on social cognition in children shows that kids develop the ability to sense third-party discussion of themselves well before they can articulate what they're detecting. They just feel watched. And a child who feels perpetually observed without consent develops a very particular coping strategy. They craft a version of themselves that is safe for public consumption. Charming, funny, easy. And they tuck the real version somewhere you'll spend years trying to find. The group chat feels harmless. The child's retreat into a performed self is not. Number 6, the joke that taught them not to cry. This one sits differently. Some parents use humor specifically in moments when a child is upset, not to dismiss them, just to help them feel better. "Oh, come on, it's not that bad. Look at me, I'm doing the face." And the kid laughs, because you're their parent and you're trying. And sometimes it genuinely helps. But used consistently, humor as a response to distress teaches something unintended. It teaches that their distress is a little embarrassing, that the correct response to pain is to lighten up, that the adults around them are most comfortable when the child is performing okay, rather than actually being okay. Columbia research on emotional regulation in children confirms that kids who are consistently redirected away from their emotions through humor struggle significantly more with emotional processing in adolescence. They become the teenager who says, "I'm fine," with the energy of someone who is objectively not fine. They become the adult who cracks jokes at their own therapy. The fix isn't to sit in misery with them, it's to validate first, then bring the lightness. That sounds really hard. I'm sorry. Want to be sad about it together for 5 minutes? And then I'll do the face? One sentence of acknowledgement changes everything that comes after. Number 7, the roast they never agreed to. Some families have a roasting culture. Sharp, funny, quick-witted. Everyone gets made fun of. That's just how love works here. And sometimes it does work. But there's a line between a family where everyone dishes it and takes it equally, and a family where one member is consistently funnier to joke about than the others. The quiet kid. The sensitive one. The one who laughs along because opting out means being accused of not having a sense of humor. Yale research on sibling dynamics and family teasing found that children who are disproportionately the target of family humor, even in households that describe themselves as close and affectionate, report significantly lower self-esteem and higher social anxiety in adolescence. Because what they absorbed wasn't, "My family is funny and loves me." What they absorbed was, "I am the most jokeable person in the room where I'm supposed to be safest." And if you can't be safe at home, you develop extraordinary skills at being whatever each room requires. Adaptable. Likable. exhausted. You'll raise a kid who is excellent at parties and can't be alone with their own thoughts. The roast culture survives. The child's sense of self doesn't always. Number 8. What to actually do instead. Stop joking at them. Start joking with them. That's the whole thing. Invite them into the bit instead of making them the bit. Ask before you share their stories. Hey, this thing you did was hilarious. Can I tell Grandma? Watch their face when you say that, because a kid who trusts you will grin and say yes, and a kid who's already learned the lesson will get careful. When you correct them, do it privately and without the laugh track. When they're upset, name it before you lighten it. And when you talk about them, in the room or outside the room, talk about them the way you'd want someone to talk about you if you were 9 and the adult held all the power and you were just trying to figure out who you were. That's the standard. It's not complicated. It just requires remembering that your kid is building their sense of self in real time, and you are one of the loudest architects. Make sure what you're building is something they'll want to live in. Number 9. The laugh you can still choose together. None of this means stop being funny. Funny parents raise kids who know how to find lightness in hard things, which is one of the most valuable skills a human can have. Keep the humor. Keep the family banter. Just make it a thing you do together instead of a thing that happens to one of you. The parent who learns to laugh at themselves in front of their kid, who makes themselves the punchline sometimes, who invites their child to roast them back and actually takes it. That parent is building something. They're building a kid who knows that humor is a bridge, not a weapon. And 20 years from now, when that kid calls home and tells you something embarrassing that happened to them, and they're laughing while they tell it, you'll know you did it right, because they learned from you that being a little ridiculous is survivable. That the people who love you most are the safest ones to be imperfect around. That the best joke in the room doesn't have to be at anyone's expense. Go be that parent. Your kid is already watching.